All right, guys, we are first long translation and stage 12 of Cambridge Latin, the last stage in book 1. And this translation is called Tremores, and Tremores are obviously tremors. Let's jump into it. Caecilius cum Julio cenabat. Caecilius is the subject. Cum Julio is a prepositional phrase. Cum plus ablative association. Cenabat is a third-person singular imperfect tense verb. So Caecilius was dining with Julius. Julius in villa splendida prope nunceriam habitabat. Nominative subject. In villa splendida is a locatival ablative prepositional phrase. Splendida is an ablative adjective modifying villa. Prope nuncerium is another accusative prepositional phrase. Accusative prepositional phrase. It's an accusative of orientation, and habitabat is an imperfect tense verb, third-person singular, and it means Julius was living, or we can just say lived, right? Lived in a splendid house, a wonderful house near Nuncaria. Julius Caecilio dixit, ego sodicitus sum, ego in ordo eri ambulabam et librum legabam. Subito terra volde tremuit, ego tremore sensi, quid tu acebas. So Julius is the nominative subject, Caecilio is the dative indirect object, and dixit is perfect tense verb. Then everything between this quotation mark and this quotation mark at the end here is going to be direct speech, and it's going to have a few sentences in it. First sentence, ego, personal pronoun, subject, solicitus, predicate adjective, sum is the copulative verb. Ego is the next subject. In ordo is an ablative location, prepositional phrase. Eri is an adverb meaning today. Ambulabam is a first-person singular imperfect tense verb. Et is a conjunction, letting us know that there's another direct object and another verb coming. Librum is the accusative direct object, and legabam is the first-person singular imperfect tense verb. Subito is an adverb. Terra is the nominative subject. Valde is an adverb. Tremuit is the perfect tense verb. Ego is the personal pronoun, subject of the next sentence. Tremores is the accusative direct object, and sensi is the perfect tense verb, first person singular, by the way. Quid is the accusative direct object. It is an interrogative pronoun, indicating that this is a question. Tu is the subject, and acebas is the first time that we have seen a first-person singular, a second-person singular imperfect tense verb ended by bas, B-A-S. Let's translate this. Julius said to Caecilius, I am worried. I was walking in the garden today, and I was reading a book. Suddenly, the earth shook greatly. I felt the tremors. What were you doing? What were you doing? Tu acebas, quid tu acebas. And Caecilius responds, ego servo epistulas dictabam, inquit Caecilius, ego quoque tremores sensi, postquam terra tremuit, grumio tablinum intravit, et me ad orto duxit, nos nubem mirabilum vidimus. So, the main clause, right, the main non-part of the speech that is being said here is inquit Caecilius, and that's everything else is going to be reported speech, so it's going to be in those quotation marks. So ego is the personal pronoun, the subject. Servo is the dative indirect object. Epistulas is the accusative plural direct object. Dictabam is the imperfect tense verb, first person singular. Inquit is the main clause, it's a perfect tense verb. Caecilius is the subject of that verb. Next sentence, back to direct speech. So everything in quotation marks. Ego is the next subject, personal pronoun. Quoque is an adverb, means also. Tremores is the accusative plural direct object, and sensi is the first person singular perfect tense verb. Postquam is the subordinating conjunction, letting you know that this is not the main clause of this sentence, but this is going to be an adverbial clause. That's a temporal adverbial clause. It means after. Terra is the subject of this subordinate clause, and tremuit is the perfect tense verb, third person singular. Grumio is the subject of the main clause. Tablinum is the accusative direct object. Intrawit is the perfect tense verb, third person singular. Et is conjunction, letting us know that the sentence is not over and that there's going to be at least another verb in the object. May is that object. Ad hortum is an accusative prepositional phrase, ad plus accusative. It's motion towards. And duxit is the perfect tense verb, third person singular. Nos is the subject of the next sentence. It's a personal pronoun. Nubem is the accusative direct object. Mirabilem is the accusative adjective. And vidimos is the perfect tense verb, first person plural. Let's translate that. I was dictating letters to a slave, said Caecilius. I also felt the tremors. After the earth shook, Grumio entered the study, and he led me to the garden. We saw the strange cloud. Vos timebatis, rogavet Julius. This is a question, so there's no question word indicating this, but we can just tell from tone. Vos is the subject. Temebatis is the imperfect tense verb, second person plural. Rogavet is the perfect tense verb of the main clause, and Julius is the subject. And it does mean, what it means is, were you frightened? Asked Julius. And Caecilius responds, Nos non timebamus, Caecilius Julio responded, ego postquam nubem conspexi, familiam meam ad lararium vocavi, tuum nos larius sacrificium fecimus. Nos is the nominative subject, personal pronoun, obviously. Non is an adverb. Timebamus is a first person plural imperfect tense verb. Caecilius is the nominative subject. Julio is the dative indirect object. Responded is the perfect tense verb, third person singular. Back to the recorded speech. Ego is a personal pronoun. It's the first person singular, it's the nominative singular subject. Postquam. Well, both the comma and the postquam lets you know that here we go. We've got a subordinate clause. It is a temporal clause. Postquam obviously is a subordinate conjunction. Nubim is the accusative direct object. Conspexi is the perfect tense verb, and it is a first person singular. We got the comma right there, so we know that we're at the end of the subordinate clause, and we're back to the main clause, of which ego is the subject, by the way. Familiam is the accusative direct object. Meon is a possessive pronoun that is modified familiam, which means mine. Ad lararium is a prepositional phrase. Ad plus accusative, which is a motion towards. Vocavi is first person singular perfect tense verb. Tum is an adverb. It means then, and it's linking it back to the previous sentence. Nos is the nominative subject. Laribus is it's a dative, it's probably a dative advantage or a dative reference. Sacrificium is accusative direct object, and fecimus is a first person plural perfect tense verb. All said and told, when we translate this, it means we were not afraid. Caecilius responded to Julius, after I saw the cloud, called my family to the Larium. Then we made a sacrifice to the Lares. Now, a Larium is, I think we've mentioned this before, a Larium is a little alcove where you would have essentially small statues that were household deities. They were like protective spirits, if you will. Remember that Romans had a polytheistic religion, and this was not only comprised of a great pantheon of larger cosmic deities that would take control of the big things in life, like the fecundity of the earth and the great winnings of nations and battles and such. But also you had little deities that would live in your house and take care of the average day-to-day things, like making sure that the hearth fire didn't burn out, or making sure that you had enough money in your bank account and things like that. So the lares were the ones that the household deities that would be responsible for really making sure the household running went along according to what you wanted. So that's why he's going to have his family make a sacrifice to the lares, these household deities. Let's see what Julius has to say. Ercle, vos fortissime aratis clamavit Julius, vos tremores insistis, vos nubum conspexistis, vos tamen honeratis per teriti. So Ercle obviously is an exclamation. It's just saying, by Hercules, my goodness. Vos is the nominative subject. Fortissime is a superlative adjective. It is a predicate nominative going to the ratus, which is the second person plural imperfect tense verb from sum. Clamavit is a perfect tense verb. It is third person singular. And obviously this is the main clause. It's indicating that the rest of this passage is going to be reported speech. Julius is the subject of clamavit. Back to the quotation, right? And vos is the subject, tremores is the accusative direct object, insistis is going to be the second person plural perfect tense verb. Vos is the subject of the next sentence, nubum is the accusative direct object, conspexistis is the second person plural perfect tense verb. Vos is the subject of the next sentence, tamen is an adverb, means however. Non is an adverb that negates the verb. Ratis is the second person plural perfect imperfect form of sum, and parteriti is it's a nominative plural adjective. It's a predicate adjective going with this copula verb. And what this all says is, by Heracles, you were very brave, exclaimed Julius. You felt the tremors. You saw the cloud. You, however, were not terrified. And then Caecilius responds, Nos non timebamus quod nos laribus credebamus. Inquit Caecilius, iam predem terra tremovit, iam predem tremores vilas et muros deleverunt, sed lares vilam miam et familia meam servaverunt. Ego igitur solicitus non sum. And let's go through this. So most of this is going to be obviously quotation, except for inquit Caecilius. Nos is the subject of the first sentence, non is the adverb that negates, timebamus is the imperfect tense verb, first person plural. Quod is going to indicate that this is a adverbial causal clause, so it's a subordinate clause. Nos is the nominative subject, laribus is the dative plural, and it is going to act as the object of this intransitive verb credeo that takes a dative. So it is a imperfect first person plural form of credeo. Inquit is the perfect tense verb, that is the main clause. Caecilius is the subject of inquit. Iam predem is an adverb, and it means a long time ago, a long, long time ago in a galaxy far away. Terra is the subject, tremovit is the perfect tense verb. Iam predem, another adverb. Tremores is the nominative subject. Remember that this is a third declension, and therefore the es ending can be the nominative or the accusative. And we know this because the verb and the context, it wouldn't make sense for tremores to be destroyed, right? That doesn't make sense. The tremors instead had to destroy something. And what they're destroying are the accusative direct objects, and there are two of them. The vilas, the houses, et muros, the walls. Right? So both vilas et muros are the accusative direct objects. And deleverunt is the third person plural perfect tense verb. Sed, it's a conjunction, but it's starting the sentence. Lares is the nominative subject. Vila meum is the accusative direct object plus its possessive pronoun. Et familia meum is another accusative direct object with its possessive pronoun, and they are all collectively the direct objects of servaverunt, which is a third person plural perfect tense verb. Ego is a nominative subject. It's a personal pronoun. Igitur is an adverb. It means therefore. So lecidus is an adjective. And it's a predicate adjective with sum, and it means worried. And non is an adverb negating sum, which is the copulate verb. Let's translate it. We were not afraid because we trust the Lares, said Caecilius. A long time ago, the earth trembled. A long time ago, the tremors destroyed houses and walls. But the Lares protected or took care of. Sorrow really means took care of. But the Lares took care of my house and my family. I, therefore, am not worried. Subito, servus triclinium intravit. Subito is an adverb, servus is the nominative subject, triclinium is the accusative direct object, and intravit is the perfect tense verb, the present singular. Suddenly, a slave entered the triclinium. Domine, clemens est in atrio, clemens ex orbe venit. Caecilium quaerit, servus Julio dixit. So domine is going to be the evocative. It's evocative direct addressed because he's asking for the master, who is Julius. Clemens is the nominative subject of est, which is the copulate verb, and in atrio is the locatival ablative prepositional phrase. Clemens is the subject of the next sentence. Ex orbe is a prepositional phrase with an ablative of separation, taken with ex. And venit is the third person singular perfect tense verb. Caecilium is the accusative direct object. Quaerit is the third person singular verb. Obviously, the implied subject is clemens, but remember that Latin verbs will always have a inbuilt subject. Servus is the nominative subject, Julio is the indirect object, and dixit is the third person singular present perfect tense verb. Okay, so what it means is, Master, Clemens is in the atrium. Clemens came from the city. He is looking for Caecilius. The slave said to Julius, Non interego Caecilius exclamavit, ego clementum ad fundum meum mane misi. Non-intelligo, non is an adverb. Intelligo is a first-person singular present active indicative verb. Caecilius is the subject of the main clause. Exclamavit is the third-person singular perfect tense verb. Ego is the personal pronoun. That's the subject. Clementum is the accusative direct object. Ad fundum meum is a prepositional phrase. Ad plus accusative. That's motion towards, right? Meum is the possessive pronoun that goes with fundum. Mane is an adverb. It means in the morning. It actually does come from an ablative form, so like in the morning, if you will. So location and time, but you don't need to worry about that now. Just know that mane is an adverb. And misi is a first-person singular perfect tense verb from mitto, where we get the word missile from, by the way, and it means I sent. So let's translate it. I don't understand, Caecilius exclaimed. I sent Clemens to my farm this morning. And I'm taking a little liberty with translating as this morning. But it just means in the morning. But I'm translating here for like that because it's more flowing. Almost at the end of this passage, guys. Servus Clementum in triclinium duxit. So the slave, so servus is the nominative subject, Clementum is the accusative direct object, in triclinium is in plus accusative. We don't see in plus accusative that often, but I want to really highlight it here. And in plus accusative usually means into as opposed to already in. So it indicates that motion, whereas in plus ablative doesn't really indicate motion. It just indicates that someone's already in a place, not that they're going into the place. And duxit is the third person singular perfect tense verb. And it means the slave led Clemens into the triclinium. Cor tue fundo discessisti, cor tu ad hanquilam vinisti, rogavit Caecilius. And then we'll just have the last sentence here. Clemens domino et Julio rem totem neravit. So cur is an adverb. It means why. indicates that it's a question. To is the personal pronoun, it's the nominative subject. Discesisti, which is a perfect tense verb, first person singular. A fundo is X plus ablative, which is an ablative of separation in a prepositional phrase. Cur, in the second sentence there, is also Y. It's another adverb. Tu is, again, a personal pronoun. It's the subject. Ad hanc vilam is a prepositional phrase. Ad plus accusative is motion towards. Hanc is a demonstrative pronoun, which is modified. Vilam means this. And vinisti is I think both of these verbs, I think I might have misspoken with discesisti. They are second person singular perfect tense verbs, right? So you is the subject. Rogawit is a third person singular perfect tense verb, and Kaikilius is the subject. Clemens is the subject of the next sentence. Domino is the dative indirect object. Et Julio, et is joining those two datives. Julio is the second dative. Rem totam is the accusative direct object. Rem is the noun. Totam is the adjective. And remember that race is a fifth declension noun, and that it's usually translated as thing, although it can be translated as story or narrative here. And narawit is the third person singular perfect tense verb. Let's translate this last little bit. Why did you depart from the farm? Why have you come, or why did you come to this house? Asked Caecilius. Clemens narrated the whole story to the master and to Julius. All right, guys. Now we're going to get the whole story. The whole story in the next exciting chapter, Odd Order. All right, things are heating up quite literally in Pompeii with the impending doom and disaster, with the destruction and the explosion of Mount Vesuvius. I'll see you there. In the meantime, make sure to diligently do your work.